Blindspot episode 14, Erase Weary Youth. I think they did a good job with this episode, kind of expanding the plot into a couple of different subplots. One, I think the main subplot being now we have, by the end of this episode, more doubts about Jane, and we have Reed kind of going back to how he was early on, where they have all these inconsistencies with, certain things in her testimony. And so it's like, all right, she's the only person who couldn't be accounted for after she kind of went off on her own. So now she's going to be looked at. We also have Zapata, who apparently still has CIA tags in her system. Her body says, I don't know why it said system, but in her house. So she still has stuff in there, and they're still spying on her. And I don't know if she was under investigation as far as, maybe they believe she's the one that did it, because whoever was working for Carter probably knew, like, oh, this is who he's targeting, and this is who at least agreed for a temporary, amount of time. Then she turned on him, and then poof, he ends up dead, like, right as she decides not to, do anything for him. So she gets the phone call. It's like, they already found it. You might as well just stop playing games and call me. And then her phone goes off. So there is still another bug in that house somewhere. And I'm very excited to see where that goes. I'm very curious because I feel like both those little plot points could end up merging. Because, of course, we have everyone. They all at least somewhat trust Jane. Of course, this episode kind of changed it for, Mayfair and Reed. But I feel like it could easily blend because Zapata might get blamed for the murder, and then she'll be like, I have to, figure out who actually did it. And despite the fact that, of course, it wasn't actually Jane, there's all the issues as to why she didn't say it or something like that. And she didn't come up with the lie like, hey, he kidnapped me and was torturing me, and then some random people shot him and let me go, and then that was it. So even though she technically didn't do it, and of course there's the fact that it is a part of her plan and it's the people she works, I guess, for or with. We're not too sure what level she's the boss or what, but I'm definitely excited to see where both those storylines go. And like I said, they could probably converge because I think that makes sense. But I guess they know, considering they bugged Zapata's house, they would know if she was on the phone or she was freaking out like, oh crap, what do I do because I killed him or something. So they probably ruled her out because she didn't know she was being spied on, so she could have done or said anything at random. So I'm sure she's not going to end up being a suspect in the death, because it's been, I believe they mentioned in the last episode, or when the guy showed up before, that it had already been like at least 3 days, and by this time it's been like almost a week or so. So he's been gone for about a full week now. So I'm sure they know that she's not a suspect based on them still spying on her. But looking forward to that, because that's going to introduce some new characters that we certainly haven't met before. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing how they have Reed and Mayfair kind of look into what happened with Jane, and dealing with her inconsistencies. So I'm looking forward to both those for sure. And I think they did a great job with just the investigation in general, kind of bringing up some of the secrets. And that's kind of what I was excited about, because I'm like, okay, there's going to be a lot of stuff that, especially for like Zapata, it's like she has to kind of word things in a very specific way during the test. And they even mention like she typically fails polygraph tests, and then that on top of the fact that she's actually lying, at least in some sense, because she's trying to reword it to make it the truth. It was a bit dangerous. And then we have inconsistencies, and they say it's either it's like, oh, it's either going to be Jane, Zapata, or Mayfair. I thought that was interesting, because for Zapata and Jane, we know why, but I'm curious why Mayfair had inconsistencies, because they don't really show her scenes as to why she had them. But it's like, we already knew why it was, because with Jane, she had to flat out lie and be like, hey, I definitely didn't see him the night he disappeared. And for Zapata, she was working with him, but she was trying to, say that she wasn't. So it made sense that they had him, but we don't know why Mayfair had any sort of inconsistencies. And I thought, and I'm assuming that it has something to do with, kind of the flashback episode we got a while back, where it was her and her girlfriend and Carter, where they were all working together, and then just all this craziness happened. So I would assume that's what her inconsistencies have to deal with, but we don't actually get to see that. They kind of just go through, and there's not really much to it. Like every time they show her answers, it's to like just simple questions. So there might be something more to that, or it could just be she was involved with them, and they had like this crazy secret thing that they weren't exactly supposed to share, and that might be where there were some inconsistencies. But I certainly enjoyed that. I was very surprised by the fact that um, the guy was actually the mole by the end of the episode. That really surprised me. And then of course Jane puts him down because she knows that he was on the right path to getting some of her secrets out there. So I really enjoyed that because it's like he was on the right path. He was definitely wrong about her having killed him, but he had the right pieces to lead to the truth, which was she was kidnapped by him, and yet he ended up dead, and she never told anybody. So now she's got people, on her trail, and I'm certainly looking forward to that. We actually got to see, it was super quick, it was hardly even in the episode, but they did actually do exactly what I thought they might between Reed and Weller. And so I loved it when he first told me, he was like, I'm dating your sister, I didn't want it to come out, he's just like, end it. And then, once the guy came in, he just walks off. But they did exactly what I thought they would, which is Weller talked to his sister, and he's like, I don't want you to do that because I don't want you to lose anyone that you love because I'm already in a dangerous position. And then that would just be adding another person, which I knew was possible. It was either he was going to be like, that's good, but generally in these cases, that's how it always goes. It's always, I don't approve, not because I don't approve of the relationship itself, but more due to the fact that I don't want you to get hurt because it is such a dangerous job and I'll have someone else to look out for, or just in general, they'll end up hurt. So, of course, that did end up happening, and I was kind of glad they did it all in just this one episode, so that was nice. It was like, he said no, and then we got his full reasoning by the end of the episode, so I was totally fine with that. And I'm sure they won't end it, because that's just how it's going to be. Either they're going to end up killing Reed and make it like super dramatic, like, oh, I wish I could have stopped this, or something crazy, or it'll be totally fine. It'll be one or the other. Hopefully they survive, because that would suck if they killed. It's not like they have a big cast of characters, really. So hopefully they don't kill anybody off. But I really did enjoy this episode. I'm very excited for what they're leading into, and Jane decides that she's not going to be dealing with Oscar anymore. But I'm sure that's not going to happen for too much longer. Probably the next 2 episodes, maybe, and then she'll be working with him again. But certainly enjoyed this one. I think the fact that the one guy was the mole definitely surprised me. But I like how they did that twist, and then that allowed for Jane to take this guy out, and so he can't reveal any of her secrets, but the seeds have already been planted, and now we have Mayfair and Reed on her tail, and trying to put together the pieces and figure out exactly what happened, and how, and maybe why it happened. So looking forward to that for sure. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and of course I have to ask, do you guys think they'll actually figure out what happened with Jane that night, or do you guys think it'll just, they'll try to, figure it out, and maybe she'll cover it up, maybe, Oscar and some other people, whoever he works with, maybe they'll, get something. I don't know what they could possibly do. I mean, all they really have are those little reflections of her in the car, so I don't know exactly what they could do outside of interrogating her again, outside of maybe trying to follow her or retrace her steps. But even then, it's been, like I said, almost a week. I feel like there's not that much that they could use as like any sort of lead or anything like that, unless they have cameras in her place that they've never talked about, which I highly doubt they do, because otherwise they would have known all those different times that she left the house. So I'm not sure how they'll figure it out. I feel like they will personally, but I feel like if they didn't, it would kind of be lackluster a little bit. Unless they do it in an amazing way, them not finding out would be a bit of a letdown. Or maybe, maybe they won't find out it was Jane, and maybe Oscar will actually sacrifice himself or something like that, and he'll kind of leave her out of it, or someone else random will come in. But definitely want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Reed and Mayfair looking into Jane's case, and of course what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.